By following this two-part Blender tutorial, you will not only learn how to model any room, but also how to animate them as well. To follow, you don't even need any prior art experience. So go to blender.org, then download and install the latest Blender version. There won't be any subscription or credits you need to purchase. It's 100% free 3D software. Once it's on your PC, you won't even need any internet connection. When you open Blender, you get the options to choose the kind of workspace you will be working on. For modeling, choose General or click anywhere outside the splash screen. Before we start, go to Edit menu. In the Interface tab, increase the resolution scale so it's easier to see. Then in bottom corner, select Save Preferences. Now you can close this window. Now all these panels, which are called editors in Blender, are resizable. And you can change any of them to a different editor by clicking the icon on its top left corner and selecting from the list. The editor where you are seeing cube, camera, and light is called 3D viewport. And this is where we will do the main 3D modeling. Below this, you have the timeline editor, which we will use for the animation of our scene. Then to its right, there is properties editor, which is aptly named since this is where you will find different kinds of properties. It can be object properties, render properties, lights, camera, etc. And finally, above this editor, we have the outliner, which is essential to keep our scene clean and organized. To orbit in the viewport, bring your cursor to this axis region, then hold the left mouse button and drag. To zoom in or out, left-click hold and drag the magnifying icon. To move the viewport, left-click hold and drag the hand icon. All of this can also be done quicker using hotkeys. To orbit, you hold middle mouse button and drag it. For zooming, scroll the mouse wheel. For smooth fluid zoom, hold Ctrl and middle mouse button and drag. To move the viewport, hold Shift key and drag the middle mouse button. You can select objects by left-clicking, and if you go to Select menu above, you can select all the objects in the scene by selecting All. Then to get rid of the objects, right-click and delete. I'll be using shortcut X to delete from now on. Now our scene is completely empty, which is also reflected in the outliner. To add objects in the scene, go to Add menu and select the object from the list. For modeling wall and floor, let's add a cube model. You can find the primitive objects under the Mesh option. If you remove the three faces from the front, you will achieve a shape similar to the room. But to remove the faces, you will first need to select them. And to select parts of any object, you need to enter its edit mode. If you bring the cursor to the top left corner of viewport, you will see object mode. It's the current mode. But to enter edit mode of the object, click on it and select edit mode. As soon as you enter it, you get access to some additional tools in the toolbar on the left as well as on the top. With the first icon active, you can select vertex or points of the object. The second one is to select edges, and the last one is to select faces or polygons. So with this enabled, let's select the three faces. You can multi-select by holding the Shift key and left-clicking on the parts. Then to delete, press Delete shortcut X and select faces since that's what we need to delete. In the final model, the floor is actually separated from the walls. So let's separate them. Select the face, which will be our floor. Then go to Mesh menu, Separate, and then Selection to separate them. If I switch back to object mode, you can see we now have two different objects. Let's name them so it's easier to identify which is which. So in the outliner, double click the current name, type the name, and hit enter to rename. Same thing with the floor object. Right now our models look paper thin. We can fix that by adding thickness. You can add thickness to the models non-destructively in Blender using a modifier called Solidify. To add it, go to the wrench looking icon in the properties. Then add modifier, and under generate, select Solidify, or you can simply type and search for Solidify. Then control the thickness with the thickness slider. I will set it to 0.25 meters. Currently, the thickness is going upwards. If we change the offset to 0, it will be centered. And if we set to +1, it's gonna go downwards. I'll set it to -1 so that the thickness is inwards. We need to do the same procedure to the wall object as well. Instead of repeating the steps, we can instead copy the modifier. Hold Shift key and select the floor, so it's the active one selected. The active object is highlighted as yellow and non-active object is orange. Then click the down arrow in modifier property and select copy to selected. Now they both have the solidify modifiers, but you can change the parameters without affecting the other one. In the corners, you are seeing a shading artifact, which is due to the overlapping of the wall faces and the floor faces. To get rid of the overlapping, we can slide the offset to +1. If I switch to top view, which I can do by clicking the blue Z bubble, you will see the walls are not of the same width all the way through. You can fix that quickly by turning on even thickness option. If I add any object to the scene, you may notice it all starts from the same location. It's because of the location of 3D cursor. Object's starting point depends on it. What if I want the starting point to be somewhere else? For that, you will need to change its location. So select the 3D cursor tool and click on anywhere on the viewport to move it there. If I add any object now, its starting point will be there. Let's go back to the selection tool. You can use shortcut Shift plus right click to move the 3D cursor. For the bed, let's add another cube from the add menu. Then as you can see, it's too big for the room. So we need to scale down. To scale your models, you need to select the scale tool on the left. If I extend the toolbar, you'll see the name of the tools. With the scale enabled, you can drag the little cube handles to scale on a certain axis. Red for x-axis, green for y-axis, and blue for z-axis. If you simply drag inside the white circle, the scale will be uniform. For the bed, let's lower down the blue handle and then red handle to scale down sideways. Now to move the bed up, let's turn on Move tool, and to translate it on the z-axis, drag the blue arrow upwards. If you go to the gizmo drop-down, you can also enable Move tool from here. This is better because this stays active regardless of which tool you currently have selected in the toolbar. If you click and hold the selection tool, you'll find few other selection tools. But let's keep this at box selection for now. In the outliner, double click on it to rename. Now to create the headboard and footboard, enter its edit mode. Make sure face selection is enabled and select the front face. Go to mesh menu and select duplicate. This will duplicate the face. If you right click now, the duplicated face will snap back to its original position. And we can offset it just a bit on y-axis by dragging the green arrow, so the faces don't overlap. Bring the context menu by right-clicking and select Extrude Faces. Then after adding a little thickness, left-click to confirm. It's very similar to the Solidify modifier. One main difference, the modifier method is non-destructive. The thickness there can be adjusted with sliders, while here you will need to drag the face left or right. Now let's select the top face and drag the blue arrow up to extend the face. Before I make the headboard, I would like you to try making it on your own. It's the same process like the footboard, just make that a bit taller. Pause the video now and give it a shot. If you were able to make it, awesome. If not, it's still completely fine. Here, let me show you. First, select the face in the opposite end, then go to Mesh menu and select Duplicate. Right-click so duplicated face stays at the same position. Offset it by dragging the green arrow just a tiny bit. Right-click to bring the context menu and select Extrude Faces. Until you left-click, it's gonna stay in extrude mode, so left-click to confirm. You can adjust the thickness by dragging the green arrow. Then to make it taller, select the top face and drag the blue arrow up. Now to create the mattress, select the face from the center. Then shortcut Shift plus D to duplicate. Offset it upwards so the faces don't overlap. And to separate it from the current mesh, go to Mesh, Separate and Selection. I'll switch back to the object mode using the shortcut Tab. Then select the newly created face. Press Tab again to switch to its edit mode. Select the face, right-click and Extrude Faces. Tab to switch back to object mode. Here, if I say move the bed or scale the bed, the mattress won't follow it. There's no reason for it to follow. They are not connected in any way. But we do need the mattress to do what the bed does. For that, we need to assign roles to them: child and parent. I think it's pretty obvious which object should be which. Let's undo first using Ctrl plus Z. Now select the mattress, then the bed. The active object becomes yellow and non-active will be orange. Then go to Object menu, Set Parent and Object. This will make the active object as parent and the other one as a child. Now if I move or scale the bed, the child does the same. And in the outliner, the child object is now shifted under the bed. Now let's create a simple blanket. With the mattress selected, enter its edit mode. Then select the top face and side faces by holding Shift key. Use shortcut Shift plus D to duplicate. And if I press Z, it will lock the movement to just the Z axis. Then to separate it, go to Mesh, Separate and Selection. Tab to switch back to object mode. Select the top part and we need to scale it down on Y-axis. You can either enable Scale tool and drag the green handle, or use the shortcut S to scale. Then press Y to lock scaling on the Y-axis only. Since we are getting this artifact due to overlapping of faces, we can offset the faces by scaling up just a bit. Before I add a solidify modifier to it for the thickness, let me bring this up a bit so you can see clearly what's going on. Now add a solidify modifier to it. Here we can fix the straightness of the thickness by enabling even thickness option, but we are still getting inaccurate thickness. The top is too thin compared to the sides. Issues like this arises due to not applying the scale. See, in Blender, when you scale your models in object mode, you aren't actually scaling its geometry. You are only scaling the container the object is inside. Only if you scale your models inside edit mode changes the geometry. So whenever an object is scaled in the object mode, you will need to go to the object menu, apply, then select scale. That will apply or bake the scale. This step is not needed if the model was scaled inside edit mode. Now the values in the modifier will be accurate. Let's bring this down now. Then set the offset to +1 so the thickness goes outwards. To model a pillow, first place the 3D cursor near the headboard. Then go to Add menu and select a cube. Press S to scale down, left click, then S again, and X to lock X-axis. Then scale down on Z-axis with S and Z. Move it up slightly so it's above the mattress. Enter its edit mode by pressing Tab, and make sure all part of the object is selected by pressing A, the shortcut to select all. Right click on the mouse and select Subdivide. This will give us more geometry to work with. Now we will scale up the loops going at the center to get the shape of a pillow. So to select the edge loop, make sure you have enabled edge selection by pressing 2 or clicking this icon. Then select one of the edge from the loop and go to Select menu, select Loops and Edge Loops. Now S to scale that up slightly. Similarly, select the edge from the vertical loop, then select Menu, select Loops and Edge Loops. S to scale. I'll do it once more. Now we also need to parent it, so hold Shift and select the bed. Go to Object menu, Parent, then Object. First place the 3D cursor besides the bed by Shift right click. Then Shift plus A to bring Add menu. And select cube under the mesh. S to scale down the cube and move it above the floor. Let's also scale this up slightly on X-axis. Now the important part. Since we scaled our models in object mode, we also need to apply it. Go to Object menu and apply the scale. Now tap to enter its edit mode and enable the face selection from top or press 3. I'll remove the front face, so select that, press X and delete faces. Now in the modifiers tab, add solidify to it. Increase the thickness and turn on even thickness. To create the drawer, select the back face, Shift plus D to duplicate and press Y to move it to the front. Scale it down slightly. Then S and Z to scale it down on Z axis. Adjust its position and duplicate again with Shift D. Press Z to move the copy down. Back in object mode, let's create its legs. First, place the 3D cursor in the corner with Shift plus right click. Then add a cube and S to scale down. Adjust the positions so it's under the nightstand. Tap to enter its edit mode. Now I want the bottom face to scale down towards the center to get a tapered look. But first we need to select it. But it's difficult to see the bottom face because of the floor. So we can turn on wireframe view. Take the mouse cursor on top menus and scroll to make the right side menus visible. Then select the first sphere to turn on wireframe view. With this enabled, we can access the parts which were not visible before. Also, every face has a black point at its center. Click near it and you can select the face. Turn back to solid shading by selecting the second sphere. S to scale down the selected face. Exit edit mode with tab. Now we can duplicate our models, but it's not the ideal way when we know all the legs are gonna be identical. What we can do instead is add another modifier called mirror modifier. So in modifier tab, search for mirror modifier, which is also under general. You don't see anything because the mirroring depends on the object origin. It's that yellow dot you see at the center of every object. So the copies are now overlapping. Instead of moving the object origin, we can change the mirror object altogether. We can tell Blender to use the origin of a different object. So select the picker icon and set the nightstand as the mirror object. It's now mirroring only on x-axis because we have x turned on. To mirror on the y-axis, turn on y as well. We should also make the nightstand pattern. So if we move the nightstand, it doesn't cause any issue like this. Select the legs, then nightstand. This time use the pattern shortcut Ctrl plus P and select object from the menu. Then function key F2 to rename the model. Let's also add a couple spherical knobs to the drawers. Shift right click to move the 3D cursor here. Then Shift plus A to bring add menu and choose UV sphere on the mesh. Whenever you add any object or perform any function, you will see an operator panel to change its parameters. But it's gonna disappear when you do any other action. It can be brought back by pressing function key F9. But even that won't work if you have done multiple actions after adding the object. So in case you missed it, simply delete the mesh and add another sphere. Then expand the operator panel and let's lower the resolution of the model. Since the knob will be very small, there is no reason to keep it higher poly. I'll go with the half resolution, which is 16 for segments and 8 for the rings. I also prefer the pointy end of the sphere to face front. So we need to rotate the sphere on x-axis. We can quickly do that by typing 90 in the x field. Now S to scale down. Also, to make the model smoother, right click and select Shade Smooth. Now go to Object menu and instead of Duplicate Objects, we can select Duplicate Linked. Then Z to move it downwards. With this method of duplication, if you change any one object, the other will copy it. And when you add material to it later, you will only have to add to one of them only. Finally, select both the knobs, then nightstand at last, Ctrl plus P, and object to make the pattern. Place the cursor on top of the desk, then Shift A to bring add menu. Let's select a cylinder to create the lampshade. In its operator panel, let's set the number of vertices to lower like 16. then S to scale down. Then switch to edit mode by pressing tab, and with face selection enabled, select the bottom face and scale that up to get a frustum shape. Then for the base, we can add a UV sphere, and Blender will remember the settings you used previously on the sphere. So it's already 16 segments and 8 rings. S to scale down, and then scale up vertically by pressing S and Z. I will move that up slightly. Then to get rid of the bottom hidden parts, switch to edit mode. Shortcut to turn on wireframe view is Shift plus Z, and drag over the bottom region to select those faces. X and delete to remove them. Shift plus Z again to switch back to solid shading. And exit edit mode with tab. We can also get rid of the bottom face of the lampshade since that won't be visible from top. Now I will make some adjustments so it feels right. Then select the lampshade and then the base. Ctrl plus P and object to make that the parent. F2 to rename it. Select the floor and Shift plus D to duplicate it. Press Z to lock Z axis and move it up so it's above the base floor. Then in the modifiers tab, lower down the thickness. Now we need to scale this down to create a woodboard shape. Let's do it inside edit mode so we can avoid applying scale. In edit mode, if I scale down, it's gonna scale from both ends. So instead, turn on edge selection, select the right edge and drag it on Y axis. We can adjust size later as well. Now we can duplicate this board 6 or 7 times to cover the entire floor area, but that's not an ideal way. Instead, there is a non-destructive method using a modifier. In the modifiers tab, choose an array modifier. With this added, you will get a new gizmo. Let's disable the move gizmo temporarily so to not get confused. Right now, it's duplicating in the wrong direction. We need the duplication towards the y-axis and not x-axis. So drag the green arrow to the right. And to align them, drag the red arrow back. Then to adjust the number of duplication, you will need to drag the yellow cross. Bring the cursor to the yellow cross, and when it turns white, drag it to the right. In my case, 7 is enough. Then to offset, drag the green arrow. Now say you don't want the gap between them to widen, but there is empty space at the end, or the last board intersects with the wall. If that happens, you can change the size of the object itself. Let's first hide the modifier gizmo and turn on the move gizmo back. Here with edge selection, I can drag the edge so entire area is filled. Everything you can do with the modifier gizmo can also be done by changing the parameters over here in the modifiers tab. You can set X offset to 0 so all of them are aligned nicely. To adjust the gap, change the Y offset. Now exit edit mode and name the model with F2. To create the rug, first place the 3D cursor on top with shift right clicking. Then bring add menu with shift plus A. Select a cube again. Since a cube already has thickness, S to scale it down, then S and Z to scale it down on Z axis. Then to make it a bit longer, let's also scale this up on Y axis. So press S and Y. Rename it by pressing function key F2. Now because of the floorboard, some parts of our bed and nightstand are not visible. So we need to move those up. Let's select the nightstand, lamp and bed. Then drag the blue arrow up slightly so they are above the floor. First, place the 3D cursor on the wall with Shift right click. Then bring Add menu with Shift plus A and add a cube. S to scale down. Then S again and lock the Y axis by pressing Y. And let's keep our cube as it is on the X axis. This is needed because we will use the cube to carve a hole for the window. Let's rename this with F2. Type and enter. Because we scaled in object mode, we also need to apply the scale. So from object menu, select apply scale. Because we need the window hole in the wall, let's select it first. Then in the modifiers tab, search for boolean. By default, it's gonna be set to difference, and we need to select the window as the cutter object. It did its function, but you can't see it because the cube is blocking the hole. If you hide this by clicking the eye icon near it, you can see the hole. But I want this to be a selectable mesh, so we can change its size if needed. Unhide it, then go to Object Properties, which is above the modifiers, scroll, and under Viewport Display, select Display as Bounds. If you go into its edit mode, turn on face selection by pressing 3, you should be able to drag them to change the window size. Exit edit mode. Now there is some empty space to the right of the nightstand. So we can shorten this region to make the room look busy. Select the wall, then shift select the floor and floorboards, and tap to enter their edit mode. You can edit multiple objects together. Here, if I try to select the side faces, it won't let me do it. It's due to the solidify modifier. Until you actually apply the modifiers, the faces will remain unselectable. Let's not apply the modifier now, so to not lose the non-destructive option. We can instead turn on edge selection and select the edges. Hold shift and select the other two edges as well. Then drag the red arrow to translate them on x-axis. Tap to exit edit mode. If I now go to the render menu and select render image, an error pops out telling there is no camera in the scene. So this means we need a camera to render. To add camera, simply bring add menu like you do for adding objects and select camera from the list. Let's move the camera so it faces the room. And to enter camera view, select the camera icon below the hand. It's still not perfectly aligned, so we can move the camera by pressing G. If I try to zoom out, the camera zooms with it as well. So you can lock the camera by clicking the lock icon. Now it's possible to zoom, orbit, or move the view. Then to change the camera resolution, go to this printer looking icon and let's set a resolution which is Instagram friendly. When the camera is selected, you should also see the camera properties. Here, let's change the lens type from perspective to orthographic. We can change the scale so the room fits the frame. Let's click on the camera icon to exit camera view and enter perspective. I will now smooth shade the lamp and pillow. First select the lamp base, right click and shade smooth. Then for the lamp shade, right click and shade smooth. But it's giving us this gradient shading. This is because of the sharp angle between the edges. Whenever a model is more organic and has some curvature, like our base was just made with a stretched sphere, smooth shading works fine. But as soon as you add in sharp angles, it's gonna have issues. And even more when there is not enough geometry in the model. So right click again and select Auto Smooth. This adds a modifier where you can control the angle up to which you want the smoothing to happen. Right now, it's only smoothing the curved part of the shade. But if I increase the angle, Blender will try to smooth all of the part. Now the pillow here is a bit tricky. Generally, pillows are not hard surface models, so normal smooth shading should work. And it will have, if I had added more geometry to it. So let's try auto smooth instead. Nothing happens right now, but if I increase the angle, we are starting to see some edges disappearing. But if I go too high, it gives the same result as normal smooth. So let's keep this somewhere between. There's still some pinching in the corners, but let's hope they aren't too noticeable if we add light and materials. Now let's add a background for the model. So Shift A and add a plane. Let's lower it down and then S to scale up so it covers the entire frame. F2 to rename it. We are currently in solid shading, but if you select the last sphere on top, you will enter render view. It's very dark right now because there are no light source in the scene. You can access the environment light by going to the wall properties. Here, if I lower the strength, it's gonna get even more dark. Let's increase it. You have the option to change the environment color from here as well. Click on the yellow dot and choose sky texture from the list. This will give us better lighting. Since the scene has become too bright, lower the strength. I will go with 0.5 or maybe even lower like 0.2. You can rotate the sun to change the direction of the light. You can also add additional lights to illuminate specific parts of the scene. So bring Add menu and under Lights, select Area Light. And when the light object is selected, you can access the light properties. Let's increase the power. To get softer lighting, we can increase the size of it. Now let's move this up. Blender has two main render engines, which you can change to by going into render properties. By default, it's set to EV. With cycles, you'll get better and accurate results out of the box, but it's slower and will depend on your graphics card. For this tutorial, we are going to stick with the default EV renderer. It's not as good, but it will give you real-time results. To make the EV look better, turn on ray tracing option. It's gonna take a moment to get enabled. Now to color your models, select one and go to material properties. Add material and pick a color from the color wheel. Let's select floorboard and add material to it as well. I'll choose a different color here. Next, let's add to the nightstand. If you want to get the exact material I'm adding, you can pause the video and copy my hex codes. Now if you remember, I used Alt plus D to duplicate the knobs, which means I only have to add material to one of them, other will copy it. If you want to repeat a material for another model, you can click on the drop down and choose the previously added materials. You can also name the material by double clicking on it, so it's easier to find them. When a material is shared by multiple models, you can tell it by seeing the number next to it. Right now, this material is shared by 3 models. And if you click the paper icon next to it, the number will disappear. That means this material is now separated from the rest. Let's name this different and make this a bit lighter. Since we are in render view, the hole is blocked by the cube. We can hide this cube fully from the viewport by going in the outliner and clicking the eye icon next to it. And if the camera icon is clicked, it will stay hidden in the renders as well. And since previous window object was used to create the hole, let's create a new one. Shift A and add a plane. In operator panel, let's rotate it 90 degrees on Y. S to scale down. For its material, let's turn the value all the way up and hue to slightly yellowish. I want this to have some emitting light. So scroll down and under emission, let's increase the strength and change color to slightly yellowish. Now our plane is emitting light, but it's not glowing. To make the objects glow in EV, you need to do some additional steps. Let's expand our bottom timeline editor and change this to compositor. Here, select new. Then Shift A to bring add menu and search for bloom. Select it and drop it in between. To make the effect visible in the viewport, go to the drop down near render view and select compositor as always. Now you can change the parameters to control the glow effect. Then to create the window rays effect similar to the final model, let's add a cube first in the viewport. Then let's switch our bottom editor to a shader editor. If I add a material to it, you can see it's also visible in the editor below. Now this principal BSDF node is exactly the same you are seeing in material properties. Currently, it has many things which might scare you, but all we want is just the emission property. So to make the node setup look simple, let's select this principal one and press X to delete it. Since there is no shader, we are getting blacked out model. Now Shift A to bring add menu and search for emission shader. Then plug the emission to surface. We can increase the strength. Enter edit mode of the cube by pressing tab and S to scale down. We will try to fit it inside the window, so scale along Y by pressing S and Y. Then move the front face forwards and move it down to angle the model. Back in object mode, if you go to view menu, local view and select toggle local view, you can isolate the selected object. This makes it easier to focus on the active object. The shortcut to toggle local view is /. At the moment, we just have a big block of emissions shader. But what I want is the emission to gradually disappear in the front. We can do that by adding a gradient texture. So Shift A and search for gradient texture. Then connect the color socket to color. With this, we are getting the gradient, but in the opposite direction. Black means there is no emission happening over there. So to change the rotation or location of the texture, we need a mapping node. Let's also search for texture coordinate. Here, let's connect generated to vector and then vector to vector. Since we need the shader to rotate on y-axis, let's change the y rotation values. Setting it to 180 will flip it all the way. To make the gradient visible, let's move it on x. Hold down Shift while sliding values for precise increments. There are more nodes you can add to have better control of the gradient, but let's not complicate it further. Now connect the emission to volume. I only connected the emission to surface earlier to better demonstrate the gradient. To add a poster on the right wall, place the 3D cursor there with Shift right click. Then Shift A to bring Add menu, and under Images, select Mesh Plane. Select any image for poster from the internet. Import. Now you can edit the image the same as how you edit a mesh plane. Let's also add some thickness to it by adding Solidify modifier. Before we render the image, there is one more thing you can do to make your render stand out. Go to Render Properties, scroll all the way down, and under Color Management, keep the view set to AGX. Then below, set the look from None to Medium Contrast or High Contrast. Now let's save the project. Go to File, Save As, select the file location, name the project, and save. And to render the image, go to Render menu and Render Image. Wait for it to finish. And since we are rendering with AV, it's gonna take very few seconds. Once it's finished, save your render by going to Image, Save As, choose File Location, File Format, pick a name, and save. Now don't just let it sit on your computer. Share it on Instagram. Be proud. It's made by you, not by any AI. Tag me at 3D Greenhorn so it's easier for me to find it. So this concludes part 1 of the tutorial. In the next part, we will try to animate this. If you enjoyed the tutorial, feel free to like, share, or leave a comment. That will help with the algorithm. Also do subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next part. Before you click on another tutorial, let's listen to what the sponsor of this video is offering. As a beginner, it's very common to get stuck in the tutorial loop, watching one Blender tutorial after another, yet still feeling like you are not actually making progress. You learn a few tools here and there, but when it comes time to create something on your own, you feel lost. That's exactly why I have put together a Blender course which will level you up as a 3D modeler. Instead of scattered random tutorials, it gives you a clear, structured path with 4 different hands-on projects that actually build your skills and confidence as you progress. By the end of the course, you will move from following along to creating independently. I will leave the course link down in the description. Hope to see you inside.